we are going to talk about how to establish some foundations of health. And this is just so critically important that you have tools to use to help with guides on nutrition, on exercise, on sleep, so you can get the best results with our products. So this is not just about put a patch on and you're going to get fantastic results, although that certainly happens. What we want to do is encourage an entire lifestyle of health. So things like we've talked about, drink water when you wake up in the morning, have a healthy diet, exercise regularly, and so on and so forth. Supplement where needed. So this is going to be about creating a guide for some of you to get you started going in the right direction. For those of you that are already implementing a healthy lifestyle, maybe there'll be some things here that you haven't seen before that will help you along the way. So, I am not a medical doctor. We're not going to make any medical claims, and we're not going to talk about using any of these techniques to treat any type of disease or illness. If you have any type of health condition, medical condition, please speak with your doctor, your healthcare practitioner first, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So we want to talk about structuring a plan, and this is to help organize your day. And there's so many great tools that you can use to implement these things. So for example, you could program your calendar that you have on your smartphone and say, okay, at 6 a.m. when I wake up, I'm going to have a glass of water. At 6:30, I'm going to start to exercise, whatever it is, and then after 3 or 4 weeks, this becomes completely natural and it becomes a habit. So if we're not having a structured plan, if this isn't something that's written down and that you can't follow, you can count on it not to happen. Okay? So it has to be written down. So, think about if you were going to own a business, if you were going to build a home, you would need to have a plan that you were going to follow. So we're all going to age and die unless we do things to change that. So this requires work each day. The good news is that it's not very difficult as long as you have a plan and you're going to follow it. I recommend you start your day with prayer. There's nothing like getting a little divine guidance from God. It certainly has been awesome in my life, and I recommend it for yours. I would like to share an experience that I had starting my day with prayer. This is going back a few months ago now, and we happened to share this on social media. But I was in prayer one morning, and I'm a Christian, so I was praying to Jesus. I'm not preaching to you today. And I was just giving thanks. To me, prayer is about giving thanks to God, not asking for things. Certainly is okay, but it's about giving thanks. And I was so happy that day. I felt this divine blessing come over me, this sense of peace and happiness and joy. And I got in my car to drive to the office, and I was singing these spiritual songs. And this appeared in the sky. And we put that on social media that day. I sent it over to Lori, and I was like, I just had the most amazing experience. Please post this to our social media. I want to share it with our community. So that was certainly a sign in my life that my prayers were being listened to. So you want to get your mind right. You're not going to have a successful business unless you have the right attitude about it. And if you speak with your leaders who are unbelievably successful with Lifewave or with other things, you know that they have incredible focus in their business as to what they're doing. The same holds true for anyone that is dedicated to an athletic endeavor. So we've been very, very fortunate over the years to work with Olympic coaches, Olympic athletes, professional athletes, and what you see within these individuals is tremendous focus. So some of the first Olympic athletes that we patched were at Stanford University, the Stanford women's swim team. I was working with them and Coach Richard Quick. And these athletes would be in the pool 4 hours a day. And they had an entire nutrition program, exercise program beyond being in the pool. So complete dedication, complete focus, and that's why they made it onto the US Olympic team. So you got to get your mind right. So let's say first thing, you're going to wake up in the morning and you're going to remove your evening patch, which could be Silent Nights, Alavida, Eon, and you're going to apply Shine. So this will give you a boost to start your day. Now, you know how to use Shine now, right? Okay. I had one individual who's in this room now who shall go unnamed. And when he used Shine, he applied it to the wrist, and he said, no, nothing happened. And I said, well, tell me what you did. He said, well, I followed your instructions. I sprayed it on the wrist, and then I went, inhaled deeply 7 times. And I said, well, you have to actually inhale it. And he's a good sport, and I know he'll be okay with that. But yeah, you want to inhale the scent, get your day started. Now, there's been some great studies that have come out as to the benefits of doing exercise in the morning versus the evening. This is entirely a personal choice. I like to do my cardio in the morning and then do resistance training a little bit later in the day. And there are some great tools here. I'm guessing not all of you love to exercise, right? I'm going to take a guess. When you exercise, you are telling your body that you want to live. And you are turning on genes associated with youth and surviving. So exercise becomes a very important part of youth renewal and age reversal. Plus, it's also a very practical tool to keep our heart healthy, our cardiovascular system healthy, avoid muscle atrophy, right? So we have to get good with exercise. And we'll be talking about some techniques. As a matter of fact, we just posted to our social media last week a new study that came out that in as little as less than 1 minute per day, you can do enough exercise to increase your strength by about 10% after only around 30 days or so. So don't tell me you don't have enough time to exercise. If you don't have a minute, then you probably shouldn't be in this room right now, okay? You can find a minute. But Tabata training is incredibly efficient. If you've never heard about it, if you've never done it, it's awesome because it takes 4 minutes. And if done properly, it can be the equivalent to about 45 minutes of walking or jogging. So to do a Tabata is really simple. You're going to exercise hard for 20 seconds. You rest for 10 seconds, and then you repeat. So that's going to be 8 sets of exercise over a period of 4 minutes. You can do this 2 days per week. I'd say 2 days minimum, 3 days is pretty good. The Tabata apps for the smartphones are all free, so you can download those so you don't have to follow a stopwatch. This is all automated. And definitely, if you have not exercised in a while, ease into this. Tabatas can be very intense. So start with something low impact, non-strenuous. Start with something like jumping jacks. You can do those. You don't have to go full intensity. Just get your body moving. And of course, you need to speak with your doctor first. Then later on, you can add exercises that are more challenging. So burpees are challenging, things like that. Running in place, mountain climbers. You'll love these things. They're so much fun. And you can do multiple Tabatas. In my routine now, I'm up to about 4 Tabatas. And for me, I love to train and exercise, and I wish I had more time for it. So I try to find things that are very efficient and allow me to keep up my health. So as an example, if you were getting started, you could go a little bit lower intensity, do 1 Tabata for the first week, 1 or 2 days, and then build up gradually. Prayer squats are just simply when you're doing like deep knee bends. And then later on, you can add things that are a little bit more challenging once you feel that your endurance and your stamina are improving. Jump rope is really fantastic. If you think jump rope is just for kids, try to jump rope for 2 minutes and then let's talk. Right? There's a good reason why boxers do a lot of jump rope. Right? It is a very low impact way to get a good cardio workout. So that would be something that I would recommend. And again, take your time with this. You don't want to risk getting injured if you're just getting back into exercise. Take your time working back into this. The next thing after this is to hydrate. And we want to start the day off the right way and make sure we're getting enough water to help manage our weight, get rid of toxins, and very importantly, we need water so our body can make cellular energy. Far too many people are dehydrated from not drinking enough water, from consuming too much caffeine in tea or coffee, and hope you're avoiding energy drinks. So most of us are not consuming enough water. So this is a good time to start the day off the right way. So you have a couple of options here. Number one, you could just drink water by itself, which is totally fine. If you're not doing intermittent fasting, after exercise, it's a good time to refuel with protein. There's something called the master amino acid pattern, if you hadn't heard of it. Definitely look into it. This is a type of protein supplement. There are amino acids, but it's very, very efficient in terms of its ability to be absorbed by the body and have that protein be utilized. Far better than beef, chicken, soy, pea protein, and so forth. I would definitely also encourage you to use electrolytes. Potassium and magnesium would be super important. It's estimated over 90% of the population has a deficiency in potassium, over 60% of the population a deficiency in magnesium. You need electrolytes for the bioelectrical system in the body to work. In energy medicine studies, acupuncture studies, it's been very, very well established now that people that have deficiencies in electrolytes, the acupuncture doesn't work. And so we see this phenomena show up with the patches. Some people respond better than others, and this is often linked to deficiency in electrolytes or dehydration. And then, of course, many of you that are exercising, you're using creatine. Those who aren't using it, creatine is a very popular supplement for improving muscle growth. But I bet what you didn't know is that the human brain also uses creatine. And that if you want to support your overall cognition, creatine is a useful supplement for that as well. I also, of course, recommend beta-alanine, and in order for X49 to work the best, you have to have a source of alanine in your diet. So for those of you that are vegans or vegetarians, and you may not be getting enough alanine in your diet, since it's principally found in red meat, beta-alanine supplements are readily available, and that'll act as a precursor to both carnosine and to AHK. A little bit about coffee, and I would say there is conflicting clinical research about this, meaning that some studies show that there's no issue with using coffee all throughout the day relative to muscle growth, And then other studies indicate the opposite. So let me explain. In some studies, it is shown that when you use coffee as a pre-workout, other than the obvious benefit is that it's going to ramp up your energy, it's going to help burn fat, and you have a more intense workout, it also puts metabolic stress on the body, which is required to tear muscle down or create stress in the muscle fibers so that now you're preparing the body for anabolic metabolism or growth. So, in other words, when we exercise, the whole goal is to create micro tears or stress in the muscle so those micro tears can be repaired. You're adding additional muscle tissue, and now the muscle becomes stronger and larger. And apparently, studies have shown that using caffeine as a pre-workout can help contribute to that overall effect. It helps to support catabolic metabolism. But the same studies show that taking caffeine after you exercise inhibits anabolic metabolism. Meaning, if you're drinking coffee all day, you may be inhibiting the ability of your body to build new muscle. Now, as I said, there's other studies which contradict that, saying they didn't find any effect, but there are so many parameters to look at when you're doing strength, stamina, and muscle growth, looking at those, that I would say the jury is kind of still out. Anyway, you can kind of decide for yourself. Next thing that we want to do is, after you wash up, you shower, now is another opportunity. You can apply shine again if you want, and you want to start to apply the patches that you're going to wear during the day. And you have all types of options here. So first thing, from a business perspective and as a practical matter, none of our products are going to have as many benefits as X39. So we would really want everybody in our community using X39. And as you know from our studies, you can apply it behind the neck, below the belly button. But our studies show, the blood and urine studies show, regardless of where you apply it, it's going to have an effect. You can apply X49 below the belly button if you wish, and there's certainly other locations that you can use. If you want to combine X39 and X49 with other patches, I still use energy patches because I like the flow through the acupuncture meridians. A good place to apply them is on the bottom of the feet, at the kidney 1 point for those of you that are into acupuncture, but the points are in our instructions, or other options in the instructions. You can also, of course, optionally use glutathione if you're going through a detox. Now, one thing to note about this is that in our urine studies with X39, we found that there was a mild increase in glutathione. When I say mild, about 30 to 40%. That's in comparison to the glutathione patch, which is more like 300%. So if you want to just support your glutathione levels, X39 by itself, provided you're getting cysteine in your diet, like through milk and eggs, X39 is okay. Carnosine, you can use it during the day or in the evening. And of course, for those of you that want to get into some little more intense exercise, carnosine is a great product. Take another opportunity to have some more water. And again, you can do water additives here if you want. For those of you that are practicing intermittent fasting, products like Vitamin Water Zero, something that's zero sugar, that'll be sweetened with stevia. That way you can get something sweet, you're getting some hydration, but you're not breaking your fast. And then if you are practicing intermittent fasting, meaning let's say you're eating during an 8-hour window and you're going to start your window at 11 a.m. And end your eating cycle at 7 p.m., then 11 a.m. would be when you would have your first meal of the day, and then any supplements. So this is a good opportunity to think through how do you want to handle this part of your lifestyle? In other words, you need to give some thought to what does your meal plan look like, what foods are you going to eat, what time are you going to eat, and why, as that can have a dramatic impact on your overall results. So, for example, let's say that you were trying to drop a few pounds and you want to look at what were some strategies that you could use to do that. Keep in mind that eating is directly connected into survival. We are hardwired, meaning that, and this is especially true with men, hormonally with women it works a little bit different. But let's say we go back a few hundred years, even less, when food was not as available, and you're going without food. To survive, the human body starts to increase production of growth hormone and testosterone, especially in men. It also improves cognition. So people that go on fasts, 16, 18 hours a day or more, will tell you that they get an expansion in their awareness. There's an enhanced mental clarity. You wouldn't think that would be the case. You'd say, oh, how could you not eat for 18 hours, 24 hours and feel great? Once you get your body in a cycle of doing this, it's really true. Some of the best sessions I've had in the gym, weightlifting, were in a fasted state, where I hadn't eaten in 18 or 20 hours. So it really does work. But this is very important for you to think about, because when you are fasting and increasing growth hormone, your body is liberating and mobilizing fats for energy. You're in a fat-burning mode. As soon as you start to eat, those hormones turn off, and now you're turning on insulin. And you're going to start to store calories as fat. And again, this is for survival, because we're going to need that body fat at some point as an energy resource if there is a shortage of food. So think about this in those terms that, human beings for thousands of years were in an environment where we didn't have access to food the way that we do today, and so our bodies respond accordingly. But the good news is that we can use this information to tailor a program that will work for you and help make it much, much easier to manage weight. The other great thing about this is it is absolutely proven today that calorie restriction and intermittent fasting will definitely extend lifespan. So if you're interested in living longer and staying younger longer, intermittent fasting is a great way to do it. And of course, you have other choices as well. Do you want to go low carb, high protein, moderate protein, what have you? We're not going to cover that. That's kind of up to you. But this is just all to say that you should be thinking about these things. Plan out your day so you're thinking about what is my strategy and why. Sugar is, of course, the enemy. Okay. So there is an overview of what you would do during the morning. Okay, and then I would also say that you should think in advance what you're going to do for snacks. Now, I'm going to recommend chocolate as a snack. But not Nestle's or Hershey's. So there are studies now that show if you have cacao and you have a chocolate that is a minimum of 73% cacao, it can support the health and vitality of the stem cells in the body. So you're getting that benefit. Of course, there are antioxidants in cacao. And one scientist that I highly respect that I met a number of years ago believes that there is a peptide that is yet undiscovered in cacao that will help people stay younger longer. I don't believe it's been discovered yet what that is, but he had a good reason for believing that that was contained within cacao. So there's a number of health benefits, and it's certainly very, very satisfying. Of course, it has some caffeine, but something like chocolate with a lot of cacao could be very healthy. Also be thinking about if you're going ketogenic or if you're going moderate protein, you know, are you going to be having things like protein bars, protein shakes, hopefully natural things like nuts and seeds, but give some thought about what your snack might be so that you are not leaving this up to chance. There's some other things that you can do as well. I also recommend, in addition to what's on this list, you think about things like olive oil. Olive oil, of course, it's mostly monounsaturated fat, and so it's going to help give you a sense of feeling full and help to control cravings. It's been shown recently in studies that olive oil may be more effective than resveratrol at activating the sirtuin genes. And now it's thought even that olive oil may be the single most important part of the Mediterranean diet. So that the benefits of the Mediterranean diet don't have anything to do with the diet. It's all the olive oil. So that's something to consider. All right, now we're gonna get to the favorite part, right? For all of you that just love to exercise. And we're gonna be talking about some resistance training. So again, the reason to go through this is that resistance training is directly linked to longevity. So you don't want to follow the majority of the population that doesn't exercise, and then by the time you're 70, you have half the muscle tissue that you did when you were 35, right? We don't want to go down that road. So now it's just up to you to give your body the minimum stimulus that it needs to produce new muscle, and it's actually less than many of you might think. It doesn't require hours in the gym. If you want to do that, by all means do so. And this can take many different forms. So for example, if you enjoy lifting weights, that's one direction you can go. If you don't have access to a gym, you can do all this through body weight training. It doesn't even require movement. How many of you are old enough to remember Charles Atlas, right? He built that body all through isometrics. Bullworker is a tool that's been around since, I think, the 1950s, and it's an isometric trainer, and you can build muscle and strength with that in about 2 minutes, 2 to 3 days a week. And you can get a full upper body workout. Not really a leg workout, but you can get a good upper body workout. And then, of course, resistance bands are readily available. So you also want to choose a premise. So we're not going to get deep into exercise programs, but hopefully I can expose you to some information you've never seen before. And this is going to be geared to those of you that want to do as little exercise as possible and still get results. So I'd encourage you to look into a technique called static contraction training, and there's been quite a few studies that have been done on this, and so it's validated that this is a legitimate technique for building strength and preserving muscle mass, and it's very, very little volume. One type of static contraction training was pioneered in Russia, and I'm going to share a benefit of that with you as well. So as an example, what you would do is you would choose the exercises that you're going to do in your routine. And this could be as little as 4, 5, 6 exercises for the entire body. And you select a weight that you could hold, and assuming you're doing this at a gym or at home, that you could hold for only 5 to 10 seconds. So let's say you're doing a bench press and you put 250 pounds up there, whatever the number is, hold it for 5 or 10 seconds, rack it, and then you're done. That's the chest workout. So if you don't have 5 or 10 seconds to invest in yourself, go back to the other slide on mindset and restart my presentation. Okay. Now I'm going to share another benefit for you. And let's say that you're someone that is suffering with a chronic injury. Let's say that you have a serious chronic injury. There are a number of techniques that we have today for treating chronic injuries that are outside the scope of medical science. Many of you probably know about hyperbaric oxygen therapy, where you go into the hyperbaric chamber, and if you're following the protocol that was developed in Israel, then you know this can increase the number of circulating stem cells by 4 to 6 times above baseline. And in Israel, where they practice this, they're treating incurable things like traumatic brain injuries. Well, what was discovered in Russia, and this is going back more than 20 years now, is that when you practice static contraction training and you're taking a very heavy weight and you're just holding it only for a few seconds, it causes enough bioelectrical stress on the bone marrow to cause the stem cells to come out. So lifting weights, and especially this technique, will increase the number of circulating stem cells in the body. Okay, so that's another tool that you have. Now, as an alternate, there's many different ways of creating stress on the muscle, and it can be either with movement, not movement, it can be with heavy weight, with light weight. It all depends on what the outcome is that you're seeking. So for example, if you choose to do some isometrics, you could do something like a wall stand, where you have your wall up against, your back up against the wall, and your thighs are parallel to the ground, and you hold that for as long as possible. I would encourage you to practice this for a while, not tell anybody, and then challenge one of your kids to see how long they can hold it, and that'll be a fun thing for you. I did that with my daughter, and she was quite surprised. You can also do this with things like push-ups, hold the static contraction. Let's say 1 minute would be a good goal to shoot for. It's very low impact, very low risk of injury, and you'll be surprised at how quickly you can build up upper body strength doing that. And then again, you pick your exercises and you do the next one. There's still yet another alternate way to do this, and this is a method that I've used, which I really, really like. It becomes more difficult when you travel. I have a gym in my home, and it's a little bit easier when you're doing this with when you're used to the equipment. But if you're not traveling a lot, I'd encourage you to try this. So this would involve picking a weight that's very light. Let's say we're talking about something like dumbbell curls, and you want to pick a very light weight and do that as many times as you can to failure. So the research is pretty clear in that there's a number of ways to induce muscle growth, to give your body enough stimulus. So, and they all seem to be correlated to taking muscle to failure in one way or the other. Sometimes it's correlated to the total amount of volume that you do, meaning the number of sets and repetitions. Other times it's correlated just simply to going to failure. So it's been pretty well documented that even if you're lifting very light weight, as long as you're taking that to failure, so maybe you're going to do 30 reps or 50 reps of a dumbbell curl with a light weight, as long as you're taking it to failure, you can't do anymore, you can still get a great result with it and build strength and size. What you could do as a really nice option is you do your first set that way, then you pick a very heavy weight and you do 5-10 seconds of a static contraction. And you'll be delighted at your results with that. And you can get an entire full body workout in less than 20 minutes. And doing that twice a week will give you enough stimulus to build muscle, especially with the patches and the sprays. So you can get all of that in, then have your dinner and your refuel. And again, you go back to the same questions of, what's going to be your strategy. So you look at your macros on proteins, fats, carbohydrates. Hopefully, you're eating healthy food and avoiding, some of the junk stuff. So about early evening, you would start to think about removing the patches that you were using during the day. And let's say you're going to bed at about 10 o'clock at night. I know if we have friends over in Spain right now, they're just going to dinner at 10 o'clock at night. But let's say you're an American and you're going to bed 10 o'clock at night, right? That's going to be a good time to apply the evening patches. Now you have a whole number of options here. Of course, silent nights is a great option. And personally, I use Eon in the evening. So what was interesting, if people were primarily sympathetically driven, you go into a state of balance. But if people were in a parasympathetic mode, a state of relaxation, they'd be brought up again to a state of balance. So it's a really nice way to relax the nervous system and have a good night's sleep. Of course, Alavita, for those of you that are using our skincare system, that also will improve the quality of sleep, but through a different mechanism. And then, of course, right before you're getting ready to go to sleep, make sure that you're sleeping in a dark room and you're keeping your feet warm, you're not looking at your smartphone device, and you're applying Dream, and you will drift off and have a wonderful night's sleep. And again, please inhale the sprays. Some other things that you could consider for your daily regimen, given that we've just gotten through COVID and there's still so many funky things that are happening out in the world, make sure that you're getting enough cysteine in your diet. If you're not sure, taking a supplement like NAC is going to be beneficial. Vitamin D, one thing we absolutely know now after getting through the pandemic is people that have low levels of vitamin D have higher mortality rates. So if you're here in Florida, very easy to get your vitamin D in the sun. Otherwise, supplement with it. And of course, if you're not eating chocolate, to get your copper, you can always have liver, right? That's the other choice. And if you don't want to take liver, then you can have copper glycinate as a copper supplement. I'd also recommend that you take iodine, of course, vitamin C, and talk to your doctor about DMSO. I've had some great experiences with people that have had COVID. They use DMSO. They get a fantastic effect from it. Very powerful anti-inflammatory. But you can't take too much of it because it's a blood thinner. Now, I do recommend that you take a liver supplement if you are recovering from COVID, and also chlorophyll, because this is going to help you recover from hypoxia. So for those of you that have had COVID and you notice that you were like a little woozy, or if you had an oximeter and you saw that your blood oxygen levels were low, taking chlorophyll and desiccated liver will bring back your oxygen levels. And this, of course, is if you don't have access to something like an IV of ozone or hydrogen peroxide. Again, if you're recovering from COVID, I'd recommend an IV of vitamin C, ozone, and to help recover loss of senses. For those of you that lost your sense of smell, lost your sense of taste, it's been shown that antioxidants like NAC and R-lipoic acid will help support that. Also, just one quick note on liver. It contains an enzyme called P450, so it may prove to be, for those people that have COVID or something else that I don't want to mention, that it will help clear this out of the body. Anti-aging, there's a whole host of nutrients that you can take. Sorry, I'm running a little bit behind. To support overall health and support an exercise and wellness program and building muscle. And then, of course, there's things that you want to avoid. Avoid anger, right? Try to be at peace with the world, even though it's crazy. And we know that when the things that we want to have in our life are love, because it supports our oxytocin levels, which makes our muscles young and healthy. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.